What's for dinner tonight, Puff Mama? Chili?
Beta.
Just say whatever dumb shit comes in your head for a while.
Let's say Dookie. That's all you need.
Just say it. Just say in that same tone. Dookie.
Dookie.
Dookie. Dookie.
Dookie. American idiot. Uno.
If you did that as a vocal exercise in front of someone, you just saying there, Dookie. Dookie.
Dookie.
What, dude, what the fuck are you doing? It's a vocal exercise. What?
Dookie.
Dookie.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I am Sailor Papyrus.
Nice.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I am Maddy Grace Webbin, and I want to correct, but also maybe not correct, Sam. This is supposed to be the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game, but this time we're playing an entire video game, except we're also playing a little bit of a video game, depending on how you look at it.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. I was both lying and not lying.
Yeah, complicated.
Yeah. This week we are taking a break from Septerra Core, not because any of us aren't here today. There's just usually the reason we take a break, but Maddy is still committed to playing Septerra Core normally. So this next chunk,
we need a lot of time.
The gameplay to plot ratio has gotten really bad for me. Although, fun fact, I didn't play any this week, which defeats the point of playing ahead. But actually, it really does, because I got a much needed break. So I'll be fine. If I have to play 2 or 3 different days this week, then I just will. It's fine. I can handle it. But I'm glad I didn't have to do it yesterday, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, the upcoming dungeon we have for Crash Genome, both the guide and the Let's Play, and every person who's comments on said Let's Play have talked about how much that dungeon sucks and is super huge for no good damn reason. So we're taking a break before we have to do all that shit. And we're going to play this nice, happy game called Deltarune, Chapter 1.
I'm so glad we're finally talking about it.
Yeah, this game's really good. Spoiler alert for later, because it's on Switch, it's really easy to take screenshots, and I took a screenshot or video every time, I had something that I might want to comment on later for a memorable moment. I just counted 149. So I'm currently I currently am culling through them, and I'm going to get it down to fewer. But yeah, a lot of good
in this game.
A lot of good stuff in this game. We're really excited to talk about it.
Yeah. As you viewers and or listeners, depending on if you are subscribed on YouTube or not, you may remember that we released our Undertale episode the day that Deltarune came out, because it came out on Halloween that year. And so
just complete coincidence.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is great. And then it goes live at midnight. And then Twitter explodes, not because our episode was any good, even though it was. Twitter exploded because Deltarune was out and everybody was obsessed with it all day. And so it's like,
we willed it into existence.
If we would have been like one day later or earlier, we probably would have been a lot more successful releasing that episode. But that day, no one gave a shit about us.
Maybe by releasing this episode, maybe they'll announce Undertale 2 like tonight. I mean, Deltarune
2. Maybe they'll have finished Deltarune.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then we can play the full game.
So I was curious on if there had been any updates, and there are updates. And in September, he had posted an update that said that he could see the development process of Chapter 2 being done this year, as in 2020. It just would have translation and porting and all of those other things required in it. So probably wouldn't come out.
So are the other
year, but
so the other parts coming out still in chapters then?
Yeah. It says he's going to release it chapterly.
Cool.
So we'll get chapter 2 and then chapter 3, etc.
Oh God, that's gonna kill me. I want to binge it. I want to play all the game at once.
Well, you can do like Maddy did with Kentucky Route Zero and just play it every single year until you can finally binge it and binge the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that's
all you have to do.
I mean that's how I watch
your
Twin
pain
Peaks,
is nothing compared to me and Kentucky Route Zero. Oh my gosh, that game was the chapters were supposed to come out quote unquote like. I think it was 5 chapters. I think that they said in the initial Kickstarter and initial initial pitch, the chapters would come out like maybe like 6 months apart or a couple months apart. And they kept that up for 2 chapters. Chapter 1 came out and then chapter 2 came out like, I think just like 4 months later. And then chapter 3 came out like 2 years later. And then chapter 4 came out like 2 years after that. And then chapter 5 came out like 3 years after that. Although it wasn't because they were terrible at making a game or slow development processes. It actually was because they were like, yeah, so remember how chapter 3 ended up being like 3 times the size of the previous 2 chapters? And then chapter 4, they were like, it's going to go a lot faster, we promise. And then they're like, we ended up inventing a bunch of new mechanics that we had to program from scratch. Oops.
Whoop-thies.
So anyway, hopefully this won't be quite that bad.
Yeah, but that does mean that there's a high chance that we're going to release this tomorrow and Deltarune 2 is going to come out. So
hell yeah.
Assuming you can do an entire localization process in 31 days. I'm sure that's possible. That's not unreasonable. But before we get to all of that, how was everybody's week?
So I started dieting again, and I hate it. I absolutely
Don't do
hate it. I'd love to not, but I'd love more to lose the almost 30 pounds I regained, and hopefully some additional, like if I could go down 40 from where I am right now, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. I mean, I was able to take myself down from 215 at the very start to 151 at my absolute lightest. So I think I can manage it again, but I still hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it sucks.
Yep. Sure does. But other than that, nothing really noteworthy going on.
Cool. I accidentally committed tax fraud. I didn't actually do it, and I'm sure that it's just going to be he turned this in on Thursday, and then we gave him COVID bucks on Friday. But I said I didn't get no COVID bucks because they had said everyone was going to get them by like the 15th or something. Mm-hmm. And I got mine on the 29th. So I filed my taxes saying I never got them. And then I spoke it into existence and I got my COVID bucks, which means.
So you might get double.
I not to say this in person forever on the podcast out on the internet, but it would be really great to get double. It would solve a lot of problems.
Obviously, if they're like, wait a second, you give us that back, of course, you'll fucking do it. But if they end up giving you double COVID bucks and no one ever notices, that would be awesome.
That would be really cool. Yeah. Doubt it'll happen, but we'll see.
I accidentally did tax fraud last year, but it turned out fine.
Yeah. I accidentally did tax fraud a couple of years ago, and they're like, "Oh, you owe us $1,400," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I have kids, so you hand me $5,000 for surviving every year, so you can take part of that, and I won't even notice." Really, we're poor around here, but we're not so poor where like the difference between a $3,000 windfall and a $5,000 windfall is much felt different. It's like we're usually. We got $500 that would solve our problems. Past that, it's like, oh, what? I guess I won't buy a TV and a PS5. I'll just buy the PS5. What the fuck ever. type thing. So, yeah, that was cool. But getting the COVID bucks means I don't owe anybody any money like immediately for this month, and it feels great.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Like I'm paying off my credit card debt when the actual tax refund comes through, but like I don't have like IKEA calling me every day trying to get a payment that I don't have. I don't have any of these people like breathing down my neck, and I paid a month in advance on my car payment so that I can pick my own due date and it not be late every month. It'll be early every month. So that it feels great to not just be destitute. So highly recommend not being poor. If you can pull that off, it's a good idea.
Also, highly recommend if you can swing it, accidentally committing tax fraud. I don't so I don't recommend doing it on purpose, but I do recommend doing it on accident. Act on that information however that's possible.
So with the COVID bucks today, we went and got winter clothes because we've been dealing with Midwest winter with Texas winter clothes, and that's been hard for everyone but me. I'm made out of fire, so I throw on a hoodie and it's 1 degree outside and I feel fine. But like the other day, Summer helped me get the groceries in, and all she had clean were booty shorts. So she had a cardigan, booty shorts, and her snow boots to walk through like 1.5 feet of snow to bring the groceries in. So we were in desperate need of some actual winter clothes. And then when we got there, all the winter clothes were sold out because they're selling bikinis already, and it's fucking 3 feet of snow outside. I don't fucking understand living in in Texas. I get it, where you're like, oh, you sell swim clothes all year round because you swim all year round. But up here, it's like, why the fuck can I buy a bikini and not a coat today? But I also got a new router for my house. And it's a good, fast, super covery one because the AT&T one sucks. So I actually get to feel like I have fiber for the first time since I've been paying for fiber. And I also got me a Switch Pro controller, which I know a lot of people have said this for the last 5 years, but the Switch Pro controller is the best controller.
It's really, like, really good. It's a great
It's like
controller.
Insanely good. It's like better than it deserves to be good.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
like,
it's fantastic.
Like I've had one of the Hori wired ones, so like I've
also very good.
So like I've had that, and it's like, so I've known that it's been great, but it hasn't had the weight to it, and because it has the paddles on the back, it doesn't have the like hand grip that the Pro controller does. But holding it in my hand to play Deltarune today, I was like, yeah, this is where it's fucking at. I could take over the whole goddamn world with this thing. But
that would be impressive.
But yeah, other than that, I just worked this week, and then my week was over, and I feel like someone took like 4 days from me because I have no idea how I got to the end of the week so fucking fast. What about you, Maddy?
Another one of those weeks where I don't remember because my brain is a black hole. But 2 things I did that are nice. Oh, right. Sorry. On last Tuesday, I had a day that I've been looking forward to a lot, which is a day off. Now, it might seem like, don't you have day offs on the reg? Well, not. I mean, I have days off of my work, but I kind of got into some really bad habits where I was scheduling way too many things for myself all the time. And like my 1 day off a week, which is Sunday, Saturday I have like a lesson in the morning, so it's like having a day off. I have to work a little bit before noon and then I have the day off, but it's not really the same thing as having the day off. Anyway, my 1 day off, I'm always and then like Saturday and stuff like that, and Wednesday I'm always scheduling all this stuff, all these social obligations, like DSA obligations often a lot of the time, or just like shit I gotta do. Oh, I said I was gonna do some research on this thing. Oh, I gotta call this person. Oh, I gotta send these emails, right? Or, oh, I gotta apply for jobs. And one of my close friends made the point that I'm being stupid and I need to stop doing that. She didn't say it that way. She said it in a much nicer way. But she made me promised her that I would take a day off. So I changed my schedule because luckily as a tutor I can rearrange my schedule if my clients are chill with it. So I moved my Tuesday students to Wednesday, and I know that did just mean I had to work more on Wednesday, but working more is different than working versus not working, right?
Yeah,
so my work day of Wednesday became a lot of work Wednesday, but whatever. And anyway, so I had Tuesday off, and I did it, and I did nothing. I didn't do anything at all. I didn't do any tasks. I didn't respond to the work email that I got that I should have responded to, but I was like, no, I'm not responding to that till tomorrow. I didn't do anything quote unquote productive. I didn't play any game. I didn't play either of the games that I'm required to for this podcast because that would feel like work, even though I'm enjoying them. I thought of doing a special stream, which that might sound like it's work, and it kind of is, but I thought it would be really fun. So it'd be like, if it's fun, then it's relaxed, then it's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I decided not to. So I basically just cooked breakfast and then chilled and did nothing. And then I went to the store and got a lot of ingredients, and then I cooked a delicious curry that I had for a late lunch. I really like curry, and I haven't cooked curry in many years. I haven't cooked it since moving to California for myself. And it was, I wouldn't quite say delicious, but it was very good. It was very satisfying. No, I just mean it wasn't quite I could do better, right? But it was still really good, and it felt good to make it myself, of course, and just to have a whole day of just food prep and listening to a shit ton of episodes of the podcast. I learned, how many did I listen to? 6 or 7 30-minute episodes about the beginning of the Bolivarian revolutions in Latin America in the 1800s. It was great. It was really great. And then I went and hung out with a friend, which technically is a social obligation, but I was like, no, I want to do this though. I could have canceled it, but I didn't. Anyway, it hit the spot. Shout outs to my friend. You know who you are. I mean, she doesn't listen to this, but she's really good. She knew I needed to do that, and she made me do it. And it was 10,000% refreshing as hell. Really, really. I mean, I'm good for another month of running myself ragged and doing too many things. Also, in preparation, so the other 2 things I want to share is in preparation for my day off on Tuesday. On Monday night, I finally gave into something I'd been wanting to do for ages, and I had just the hankering, the me wanting to do it had been bubbling under the surface more and more and more until finally I was like, fuck it, I'm getting back into Final Fantasy XIV. Nice. So I played it. Ironically, I didn't play it on my day off because I know if I started playing it, I would get sucked in and play it for 6 or 8 hours, and I did want to go to the store and cook my curry and stuff like that. But I did play it the night before. And what a nice game it is, I only played a little of it, and now I'm back into it. I think I played it quite a bit yesterday. I think I might have played it some on Friday. I'm keeping it pretty responsible, but I'm definitely also wanting to play it a lot because it's really fun. Anything interesting about that? Oh, if any of y'all know about the lighthouse in the Limsa Limensa, or not Limsa Limensa, in the, what's that part of the world called?
Lenosha.
What?
Lenosha.
Really? Oh, is that how it's pronounced? Really?
Yeah. Weird. Oh, did you think it was Lanosia or something?
Or I don't know, the consonants that are in the word. Anyway, Lanoskia, I don't know. Anyway, so in the Lenosha, if you are familiar, in the residential district in Lenosha, where you can buy your own houses and stuff, there's this lighthouse. And this lighthouse is climbable using terrible, terrible, awful platforming physics. And if you know one thing about me, I love terrible platforming physics in games that aren't platformers. Almost more than I like actual good platformers. So I climbed the lighthouse, and I believe it took me about 2 hours. After about an hour, I started listening to a podcast. That way I could not be completely wasting my time while climbing it. I just tried over and over and over and failed. Are either of y'all familiar with this lighthouse?
No.
Yes, I know the lighthouse you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm guessing you haven't climbed it, Eli.
I have not. No, it's just like, yeah, I know that's a thing you can do.
You have to make a bunch of really difficult, small little jumps between these different planks that go around the lighthouse, and just here's what kept happening though. Every time I got to the second, like the third to highest jump or the second to highest jump, I would switch to my keyboard and I would type to my free company. I would say, "Hey, I'm on the second to last jump. Wish me luck, y'all." And then I would pick up my controller. And something I've learned now is that every time I switch from controller to keyboard and back, my brain resets and I forget what the controls are. So literally 3 or 4 times I did this. And then I hit X to jump.
Oh.
And then just fucking fell off the lighthouse. This happened multiple times. I'm not shitting you. And then finally, I finally got
friends.
And then finally, I got up to the top, and also I couldn't fish because I didn't realize that the fish someone had, the only saltwater bait I had that someone had given me was over my level. So I also couldn't enjoy a nice fishing at the top of the lighthouse. But that's okay. I still got some good pics that I put on Twitter of me at the top of the lighthouse with my FC's house way down in the background. You can barely see it in the corner. It was really, really fun. And again, just we've talked about it a million times, but FF14, great game, especially when you're like stressed and there's a lot of stuff you just want to chill out. Just fucking, I can't think of a better game. And the second thing I want to say I did this week briefly is I played the demo for Balan Wonderworld, and which is out now. It rules. I love it. I can see why people might say it's quote unquote bad. I don't know. It's certainly a little bit loosey-goosey as far as platformers go, but you're always transforming into these different characters with these different abilities. It's really simplistic. The controls are literally joystick and one button. Every face button and even the shoulder button, so you can play one-handed, does the same thing, and it's jump. Or if you're a different character, it might not jump. It might do a special ability instead of jumping. So some of the interesting characters are like, oh, you can now shoot fire, but you literally can't jump, which is kind of cool. So it's like, it's definitely like for babies, right? It's for tiny babies. But the first world that you get to play is still really fun and delightful and cute. Got a lot of cool graphical stuff. And then the later worlds that you actually unlock one level from 2 later worlds. It's a really big demo. And it levels actually gets a little bit more complex and interesting. A lot of exploring. It really rewards you, like noticing like, oh, I think I can get up there by using a thingy, huh? Anyway, I'm really looking forward to the full game. I think I should play the demo. I mean, it's not often we get a new game by Yuji Naka, or a new thing by, oh my god, did I forget the name of the fucking character designer? Naoto Oshima. Naoto Oshima? Is that the character designer for Sonic the Hedgehog? I think I'm right. Okay. Anyway, it's not often we get a game that's with graphic design by Naoto Oshima. So it's a really special little treat. Really looking forward to that fucking game. So that's my week. I had a really relaxing day, and I've been playing some good video games.
Nice. Well, let's listen to one of the great tracks. How am I only going to pick 2 tracks from Deltarune?
One of them, you should play the one from like the prophecy scene, the little cut scene, because that does sound like it's probably like the main theme of the game or something. So you should play that one.
It is. Yeah, they use that leitmotif a lot.
Yeah. It's really good. So you should start with that one.
Yeah, and then we will talk about what happens in this game chapter
thing.
All right, take it away, Eli.
So first off, I want to apologize because ADHD hit me hard this week, and I only have about half of the game notated, but I know it pretty well because I'm an Undertale fanatic, and so of course I'm a Deltarune fanatic too.
And all three of us played almost the entire thing today, so I'm sure we'll remember it.
Yeah.
The first thing I did in the morning was I woke up and started playing it, thinking this is the one thing I got to make sure I get done. And yeah, I played it starting in I woke up and started playing it. So,
so when you start up Deltarune, it actually starts with a character creation sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And it asks you, it's got some weird creepy music playing in the background and kind of a staticky look to it. Mm-hmm. And it's just it looks like some kind of weird alternate reality game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's asking you to create your human, and it's asking things like, what is your favorite flavor? And it says things like sweet, salty, soft, cold, pain, and then it asks for your favorite blood type, not your actual blood type, your favorite blood type.
And the types are A, B, B, C, and D.
Yes. Pick a winner. And yeah, so and you get to choose how it looks, and then you go through this whole sequence. And then it just tosses your creation away, and it tells you outright, this is not a game about choices. No matter what you do, the outcome will be the same. The game warns you of this from the start. And yet it was made by the guy who made Undertale, so it's clear it's going
I don't trust it.
Yeah, it's gonna fucking mess with you in some way. It's going to do something.
I played the game one very specific way, but even though the game told you choices aren't going to matter, I'm pretty sure that I could play it a different way. I feel like, and I kind of want to find out later. I think the game was lying to me.
I'd be interested to know your findings because I've only ever played it a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only ever seen other people play it a specific way. And I don't know if I have time to play through Deltarune again the wrong way.
Right, yeah.
The quote-unquote wrong way. There is no wrong way to play it. So we meet our protagonists in their home. We see their bedroom, and we see that their side is kind of plain, and the other side is very well decorated and very neat.
Trophies.
Yeah, lots of trophies. This appears to be where we live. We can do fun things like flush toilets and be rewarded with a victory jingle.
Mm-hmm.
We also learn that through exploring the house and through taking a look at everything, this character lives with their mother and brother.
Mm-hmm.
So once we finish taking our sweet ass time exploring the house, we head outside to meet her mom, and it's Toriel from Undertale. So, yeah, she takes
dead.
us. Yeah, we did not kill our goat mom this time. We spared her. She takes us to school with her. We find out that the main character's name is Chris, Kris. And I believe they are also canonically non-binary.
Makes sense given the spelling. I figured that's what they were going for.
Yeah. So we had a nice little montage of driving through the town, and we see some familiar characters on the way to that. Undyne is in a cop uniform, which is really disappointing. Undyne, all cops are bad. I can't stand you anymore. It's really breaking my heart.
No, she's really bad at it.
Yeah.
In her defense.
It's true. Yeah. In her defense, she is incompetent. So, mom gives us a hug, and then we head to class. And our teacher is Alfie's. she tells us that we're doing a group project and we just have to find a partner. So we go around and talk to everyone in the classroom, and they all have partners already, including Temmie, whose partner is just an egg.
Love Timmy. Glad Timmy's getting the education that they've always needed.
Yes.
Got to get into Kuleg somehow.
Tem go to Kuleg. So while we try to find a partner, and in particular, we talked to a deer girl named Noelle.
Not deer as in sweet, deer as in
DEER. She is a deer. I mean, her name is Noelle. I'm pretty sure she's meant to be a reindeer.
Though if you find out later, she is a mega sweetheart.
Yeah, she is. She is a deer in both senses of the word. And apparently her partner is a jackass of a guy.
No, he's not. He's a bird. He's not a donkey.
God damn it. He's a dick.
He's not a detective. He's a child.
God, I hate you so much tonight, but I feel bad about that because you're having a rough night. Anyway.
Yeah, it's okay.
Some weird purple lizard lady just bursts through the door. Her name is Susie, and we'll find out soon that she's a big fucking asshole. She's just...
And we'll find out not so soon that she's a big softie, too.
Yeah, it's true.
Susie's the main character of this game.
When I first played this game, like, it took me a while. Like, because I Let's Played it the day that it came out.
Mm.
And I distinctly recall being like, man, Susie fucking sucks. She's so mean. Anyway, Alphys notices that she doesn't have any chalk to use on the chalkboard. So, and she has no idea why. So she sends Chris and Susie out to get it from the supply closet. Susie heads out before us. And once we leave, we get outside just in time to see Susie taking a big old bite out of a piece of chalk. At which point she gets in our face about it and is like, oh, you're just going to go tattle on me and you're going to get me expelled. Well, if I'm going to be expelled, then I might as well be expelled for doing something actually bad. And she grabs Chris and pushes them up against a locker and then threatens to bite their face off. And it is her face sprite when she does that is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, this part really broke my heart because the way she phrases things is not oh, you're gonna get me in trouble, then why don't I make it worth my time? She's just oh, you're...
She's I'm going to murder you.
well, not only that, but it's you could tell even early on that nobody trusts her and everybody thinks that she's up to no good.
Yeah,
and she says something to the effect of oh, I'll just be the monster that everybody already thinks that I am. Type thing. And I'm oh, poor baby.
Yeah, it's really super sad. But right now she's being a dick.
But Eli, here's something you're going to learn as you go through the world because you've gone through less of it than I have. Obviously, you're not
me being 5 years older.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
Most people who are assholes are really sweethearts who are going through it, and they just need somebody to have loved them at the appropriate time to prevent them from being an asshole. That's at least how I see a lot of things, except for Nazis. Fuck Nazis and punch them in the throat. No excuse there.
Honestly, I agree with you.
Yes,
I absolutely agree with you, and I think it is important to say that. However, at this point in the game, with what we know, she a dick. But however, to her credit, she does drop Chris, and then we learn once again that the choices that we make do not matter because Susie just fucking says it to us. So We head over to the supply closet, which is completely dark, aside from some papers on the floor. Take a few steps into it, and then just fucking fall into the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what abyss, but there is one in their supply closet, and it's got a big fantasy world in it. And Chris's clothes changed into armor.
You mean your supply closet at your high school didn't have a gateway to a different dark world of darkness?
That was hell. I went to Catholic school.
Fun fact: my my school had a classroom that didn't exist. I think it was like 24. Like, what I mean is the way that our numbering system works. I think it was like 24B or something, and like the way the numbering system worked, there was like a 24A and a C and a D, and there wasn't a 24B. And me and my sort of romantic partner, whatever you would call it, thing at the time, me and them tried to find 24B for a long time, and we came to the conclusion that it does not exist. We also found out that our school was not level as well. If you close your eyes and focus hard when no one's bugging you or distracting you and walk down the hallway, you can realize you're going either uphill or downhill slightly. Anyway, schools.
Yeah, that's definitely like just how schools work.
Yeah.
So, after wandering for a while through this very strange world with like weird dust creatures and nearly getting pelted with spades, like actual, like the spade is in like the card symbol, the playing card symbol, and not the not like tiny shovels.
And they do a thing right here that because like if you start up the game on the Switch, I don't know if all of us played it on the Switch. Switch.
I played it on PC.
I played it on Switch.
On PC, you just start the game and you just go for it. On the Switch, it says, "Hey, you should play Undertale. You should stop what you're doing. Have you never played Undertale before? Click this button. We will take you to the shop so you can buy Undertale. This game kind of doesn't work unless you've played the first one." And because of that, right here, as you're walking by and getting pelted by spades, it does the first, besides like throwaway references to that have happened so far. But this is the first, like, this is a sequel to Undertale portion, because as you're walking on the overworld and the spades are coming at you, everything goes a little like gray, and you see your heart in the middle of your chest, so you know, like, oh, I'm in a bullet hell, even though I'm on the main overworld,
which is
really cool.
In my opinion, one of the most. That's right off the bat. I was like, oh shit, I really like this game, not just because I love bullet hell shit, but I was like, oh, that's a really cool mechanical new mechanic from the first game. Because the first game had overworld and it had battles, but it never had parts where you were walking around the overworld but could die. So that seamless, that once I saw that, overworld itself can also be like danger zone where you have to dodge bullets, I'm like, oh, this rules. This is a great direction to go with this.
Yeah, it was one of the first aha moments of this game, and I love it.
So we finally meet up with Susie again and end up in a little town where we make our way to the entrance of a castle. A cloaked figure calls us forward, and he says that he is the prince of the kingdom of darkness. And then he tells us an ancient legend about light and dark living in balance. A calamity would occur if the balance was upset, but that three heroes, a human, a monster, and a prince from the dark, would arrive to seal the angels' heaven to restore the balance. There's a fountain that needs to be sealed in order to restore balance to the world, and tells us that the reason that we're there is because we're the prophesied heroes, and that the calamity is starting. Susie tells this guy to go fuck himself. And I mean, honestly, like, on the one hand, I think she's being rude. On the other hand, I understand where she's coming from.
We just got here.
Yeah,
Right?
she just got dumped out of her school into fucking, like, bizarro Narnia.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't blame her for being kind of pissed off about this. Before the prince can convince her that this is something that she needs to do, he gets slammed into by, like, a weird dog with a spade on his face riding a motorcycle. This guy's name is Lancer, and he's the best. No question. Don't at me. He's the most amazing character in Deltarune. And then we fight. Or we talk him down, but either way, honestly, it doesn't matter because the outcome will be the same. So, or at least so the game wants us to believe. So once we defeat Lancer, the prince returns to once again try to convince Susie to help with this quest. She tells him that she can't hear what he's saying and he needs to take his hood off. So he takes off his hood and he's like a super cute little monster boy. Like for some reason I get like spider vibes from like tarantula vibes because he's just so fuzzy and like kind of bug-eyed, but also really cute. But his name is Ralsei.
I didn't get spider vibes, but he is really cute. To me, he just looks like Ralts, the Pokemon. Yeah, I didn't get any I didn't get any particular vibes. Like, what I mean by that is, to me, he's not like, oh, he's a boy, oh, he's a spider. He's just like a small creature. He's just a little creature.
He's a fluffy boy.
He's just a little buddy.
Yeah,
he's really cute.
He is a friend. He's friend shaped. So Susie just fucks off, I guess, and we're left with Ralsei to try and fulfill the prophecy. And Ralsei is like optimistic to a fucking fault. Like nothing seems to get this little guy down, and I love him. So Ralsei takes us to a training dummy and gives us a manual that we actually can't use. It does actually exist online. I saw it before. I meant to look it up, but there's an actual manual that Toby Fox built to correspond with the one that Ralsei gives you in game, because when you try to use it in game, it's like the manual was so dense it made your head spin, is what it says.
That's cute. I definitely forgot about that after I got it.
I didn't try.
And then you can use the training dummy to learn how fights work. You can just skip right over that if you want to, but you don't have to. Or yeah, you can do it or you don't have to. Anyway, so then once that's done, we head to this big open door with and I meant to mention this, the symbol that was in the fountain during the legend that was being told is the symbol of Deltarune, which was also in Undertale. That exact same symbol showed up.
Yeah.
And it was called a Deltarune.
Also, that symbol is on your right at the beginning of the game too.
Before we head through, Ralsei makes sure to encourage us to resolve conflict with words rather than weapons. He wants us to resolve everything passively.
Mm-hmm. And this is around the time where I'm like, are you sure that my choices don't matter? Because it really feels like my choices matter.
This is the point where
Ralsei is definitely like giving you that impression. He's definitely trying to convince you that they do.
This is also the part where I'm starting to worry that I'm going to be really annoyed by this game for the same reason I was really annoyed by the first one. I'll spoil it. The answer is kind of. We'll see.
Cool.
It toes the line between being very annoying and being fine IMO, but of course it's only part one of a larger game, so we'll have to see. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So we go through the door and find out that this game is also different from Undertale in that the mobs we encounter along the way all show up in the world sort of like in Earthbound, or, you know, any of the other games we've played recently, like the last one that
Lunar.
Or the current one too. Fucking Septerra Core. God. There's a lot of games
that too, with Chrono Cross.
Shut up. Anyway, it only happened in Earthbound. So it didn't even happen in the original game Mother.
This game is Earthbound.
That's true.
Actually,
like, more so than the first one.
You saying that shows your ignorance, because this game, I'm just messing with you. But also,
game is Sans.
No. But this game is very explicitly Mother 3 in a lot of ways, even down to a lot of aesthetic choices, which is very interesting. But of course, if you haven't played Mother 3, you wouldn't get that. But I very was like, oh, this is very, very much harping on Mother 3 in some specific. In some very pointed ways that I found were interesting. I might mention some of them later, but anyway.
Yeah.
So we make our way through the Scarlet Forest, running into Lancer. Along the way, he tries to stop us with a lot of misdirection and just...
It's great. It's just all great.
It's super cute. It's amazing. He's absolutely my favorite character. He's my favorite character for a lot of the same reasons that Papyrus is my favorite from Undertale.
Yeah.
They give me very similar vibes. So eventually we run into Susie again, and she can't get through a door that's blocked by a puzzle. We happen to need 3 people to complete the puzzle.
Because you have a party of characters in this game, which you didn't have in the first game.
Yeah,
and they follow behind you like you're in a Chrono Trigger or a Chrono Cross or a Septerra Core or a Lunar or those sorts of things.
While we're talking about ways that this game's different, and they can hit the button.
Yeah, and so because they're following behind you, you have to get the 3 of them while they're following you to stand on the right button.
Yeah, on this game being different, man, the battle system is different too in an interesting way. It's instead of being 1v1 combat, it is now 1v multiple combat. From a first-person perspective, it is now from a side view. Like a Final Fantasy-esque game instead of like a Dragon Quest-esque game, right? Or Earthbound. And that's because you have party members. You have 3 of them, so they're on the left, you're on the left, they're on the right. It reminds me a lot of Mario and Luigi, because every time they attack you, you have your little thing. What's neat is whenever they attack, it says which character they're attacking first, and they can attack one or more or all of them, but you only control one little heart. So if the cursor shows Chris and one of the other characters, then every time you get hit in that attack, those are the 2 characters whose health goes down. Anyway, other differences are, the only other difference I'll mention besides a lot of them is that it's in color. They ditched the monochrome thing, which was a really cool and interesting aesthetic choice. Anyone who whines about it is stupid. But this one, they're like, no, we're doing color this time around. Although the game does dip into monochrome style on a number of occasions.
Yeah. I think it uses it to not to better effect, but like it's a good effect. It's a good effect.
It uses it a lot, sometimes in combat, and also sometimes out of combat. It'll do the monochrome thing in certain ways. Yeah.
Susie reluctantly joins us to be able to get through the door, and it starts this running joke where it plays like a fanfare and slowly says like Susie joined the party and in the box, and then like the next it does the fanfare again, but instead it says something like Susie
follows from a safe distance so nobody will know that she's with you.
yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
It's really good.
It's pretty great. In the next room, we get into a fight with a cute little guy called a Sea Round, or crowned, if you will. every monster in this game is based on like game pieces and cards and puzzles and things like that. It's all like stuff you might find in a school supply closet. And yeah, this little guy is a checker piece with like a cute bear face. We try to get Susie to play nice, but she just fucking cleaves it in half.
Yeah, she fucking owns it.
So after that fight, Ralsei once again tries to convince Susie to play nice. Like he's saying it kind of generally, but it's clear he's like eyeing Susie the entire time. I mean, she's basically like whatever about everything. So one of the next rooms is really cute. It's like a Patreon kind of area. There's some like some of the jigsaw puzzle monsters are there. Yeah, they've got like a little hole asking for donations for their tutorials, because apparently like you actually get some valuable lore here.
They do, yeah.
There's a guy named Rules Card, and I should explain this name is spelled ROUXLSKAARD. So it does not look like it sounds, but that's because it's like French.
As we'll find out way later when we meet him, and don't worry, I did screenshot some examples for my memorable moments. He talks with a very fake, like old-timey fancy pants like style, right? So he probably named himself this to be a fancy pants.
Yes. But yeah, so apparently he controls all of the puzzles these days. And then there's a shop right next to that that is run by what looks like a very well-loved but creepy stuffed plush cat that I honestly love. I love this guy. His weird button eye and his like the stitches in his mouth. Oh, he's just such a good design. So after a brief stop there, we continue through our journey, and we once again run into Lancer. Susie actually interrupts Lancer as he's talking and gets on his case for saying ho 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 as his evil laugh and calls him baby Santa Claus, which is just great.
That's so good.
And then she does the same thing with Lancer that she did with Chris. She goes over to him, grabs him, and picks him up and threatens to bite his face off. But, like, Lancer totally disarms her. Not intentionally, but he just, like, he's so innocent and sweet. He takes it as an actual lesson and thanks her for the help with being more scary. And then, like, she's so confused by that response that she just, like, she sets him down and he just sends out a monster to fight us. I fucking love that scene. There's just so many good Lancer scenes.
There are.
So, wow. Really? Really me? Chestboard? We ended up at a chestboard. God. That's embarrassing. I could have not said that, but I did. Now everybody knows I wrote the words chestboard. Shut up. We end up at a big chessboard with a puzzle where you have to walk across without stepping into the light spots. It's a little bit annoying to figure out, but like once you notice a pattern, you can get through it. And then there's some chess piece monsters, and I did spell chess correctly there. What the fuck? Anyway. I'm going to be hung up on this for a while.
Eli, it's fine. A lot of these characters are themed after, like, medieval knights and armor. I'm sure some of them have chest pieces.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all you're referencing.
That's definitely it, yes. So once again, we run into Lancer. Like, he just keeps, like, moving ahead of us and waiting for us.
It's very much like a reversal of the opening chapter of Undertale, where we keep running into Papyrus, and he's like, try this on for size, and it's just like a joke because he's lame, right? But different, but it's the same sort of idea structurally.
Yeah. So, at this point, he threatens that we're about to be smooshed into lots of blood, and then sets out a bucket and asks for feedback.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Just putting his bucket on display like that.
You don't get what we're referencing, but it's okay. It's very, very inappropriate.
Is it Homestuck?
Yeah, it is.
Is it Homestuck? Okay, cool. Great.
Actually, I'll just fucking explain it. In Homestuck, there's these characters named Trolls, as I'm sure you're aware because you've been on the internet before, and you find out at a certain point in the comic, not till chapter 6, if I recall, because it's the best part of the comic, that basically whatever the fuck troll sex is, which, like, who knows what it is, right? Who knows how these alien creatures actually, like, copulate, but whatever it is, it somehow involves a bucket. So buckets are like leaving a bucket out in your room would be like leaving out like a sex toy or something. It's like but like a million times worse even. So like anytime there's a bucket, the human characters are like, yeah, it's a bucket, and the troll characters are like, oh my god, you can't just have a bucket. This is so lewd. This is so scandalous. I can't believe you would do this. It's a really weird. It's a really fucking weird bit, and it's really funny. And
I love
leads
shit
to.
like that.
I will not elaborate, but it does lead to one of a series. Like, if I were to list my top 5 most hilarious things in the entirety of Homestuck, one of them would definitely be a scene involving a bucket.
Absolutely. Eli, I'm telling you, Toby Fox did the music to Homestuck. You should just read Homestuck.
At some point, he's going to. It'll happen.
It's going to change his life. He's going to replace all of the Undertale stuff in his room with Homestuck stuff. He's going to get sucked in. We're gonna meet up to discuss the podcast. He's going to be in gray face paint.
He's honestly going to get too into it, and then we're going to be like, "Oh God, what have we done? We've created a monster. This is all our fault."
Considering, yeah, like my track record of, like, I get into a thing and I am, like, absolutely bonkers obsessed with it for, like, months and months and months to, like, to the extent where I feel like people are, like,
it's going to take you months and months and months just to finish reading it, so who even knows how long you'll be obsessed with it.
Oh God, I don't know if I have that kind of time to obsess over something.
So I read it in, like, downtime at work, and I read the whole thing in, like, a month.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating, obviously.
Downtime at work is when I procrastinate from working and playing Septerra Core by also not reading Homestuck. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Anyway, he sets out the goddamn bucket and asks for feedback. Susie tells him that it's better than what he was trying to do before to threaten us, but she asks what the bucket's for, and Lancer just explains that it's for all the blood because he's not supposed to make a mess. So he realizes then that he just keeps calling us clowns, and, like, he thinks we should have a team name. So everybody but Chris writes down a name, a team name that they want, and they put it into Lancer's bucket, and
Filthy.
then
it's just awful. Can't believe what's happening.
Chris is asked to pick one of the choices out. I took Lancer's. Or, I'm sorry, I took the Lancer-shaped paper or whatever it was.
I took Susie's because I wanted to be nice to Susie.
I took Ralsei's.
Oh, awesome. If you take Lancer's, the paper just says Lancer. And it determines what he's going to call us going forward. So, I chose him as my favorite. It just says Lancer. He decides to call us the Lancer Fan Club.
That's really funny. With mine,
so our choices do matter.
Yeah, which again, I'm pretty sure this game goes to be impossible if not to. But actually, I'll set it up right now. Wait, has Susie like officially joined our party at this point?
Yes.
Like because here's the whole thing about this game's mechanic. Okay, this whole thing that makes this game so mechanically interesting is you got one party member who doesn't want you to fight ever, and one party member who wants to annihilate everybody on the spot always. And the game's mechanic literally is, if you want to do a pacifist run, you have to stop your other party member from killing the enemies, which is really fun and interesting. So you have to basically you have to warn them. Like you literally yell at the enemies like, hey, look out, she's gonna fucking murder you. And then you have to do other various things. Like you can actually put her to sleep so that she doesn't take any actions. But like the game definitely doesn't make you do that. So like I'm assuming you can do a kill people run. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to do that.
You can absolutely, yeah. You can.
Which is why, again, the game is lying to you at the beginning when it says your choices don't matter.
I was curious, so I looked it up because we should do our due diligence. And you cannot do a genocide run in this game. Your choices, in fact, do not matter. But can you
kill the characters in the combat?
No, you cannot. You try to kill them, they get scared and run away, and you get 0 experience.
Wow! Oh, I didn't even realize that.
I can't decide if that's cool or if that's dumb.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. So the difference in the quote unquote genocide and the quote unquote pacifist ending is the victory route. You don't get to do the victory route if you do the genocide ending.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, we'll find out what happens. Well, I'll ask you to explain that more later.
Yeah.
I'll ask you to explain why that makes sense later once we get there.
Yeah.
So,
wait, pause real quick one more time. So you're saying the whole time you're just hitting the enemies and they're always running away. So then presumably, whether this is literally written into the game script or it's just implied, Susie is just getting increasingly annoyed the entire time that she can't kick anyone's ass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, actually, you know what? I don't know if that totally goes against what I would say is killing them, because this game is a lot less fantastical and a lot more down to earth, and I think it's clearly implied that Susie's never literally killed a person. She just threatens them because she's a bully, but she's still literally a teen. Teens don't just kill people most of the time, right? And later on, as I'm sure Eli will mention, she does kick someone's ass, but she just stuffs them in a trash can. Right. Yeah. So really that doesn't actually go against what the game's saying, because you have two options. The options are talk to them or beat the shit out of them. And you still do beat the shit out of them, even if they run away with 0 health. Right. Mm-hmm. So that actually does make sense. So you actually are going between the two different methods of playing. It's just that the other one isn't literally killing people, because that wouldn't make sense in this game's plot. Again, this is like a normal high school teen girl. She's not going to literally kill people. Sorry, I just had to think about that for a second.
No, you're good. Oh yes, we were talking about the team names that we're given.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I've got Lancer Fan Club. You said you took Ralsei's, right, Sam?
Yeah. So Ralsei is I think that our group should be called the group of friends that travel to save the world and have lots of fun and make friends with everyone gang. And Susie's absolutely not. We're not going to do that. We're going to do some, if we're going to have a name, it's going to be short. It's going to be punchy. It's going to strike fear into people. And Ralsei's well, what do you suggest? She's maybe just the Fun Gang. And so go by the Fun Gang.
So in my version of the game, if you pick Susie's, it is, I didn't take a screenshot of it annoyingly, but I forget how it's worded exactly, but the game either tells you that it's a really bad word that you can't say, or maybe it actually uses asterisk exclamation point. It uses, I can't remember how it does it, but it's implied that it's a 4-letter word that you can't say, and it's literally and then there's a little funny little bit where Ralph also can't say it, and then also Lancer also can't say it because his dad always says that he can't say words like that. But then we can't possibly use that name, but we do anyway. So I'm pretty sure. So they end up calling us literally the word, whatever it is, squad. So like we're the fuck squad basically, which is really funny. Actually, I think what happens is you say, "Oh, I can't say this word. I shouldn't say it." And they're like, "Well, what is it?" And then like Lancer grabs it and he's like, "Oh my god, this is a level 2 like not allowed word. This is I can't believe you would say such a word like that." But yeah, so we're the fuck squad, which is really nice.
I fucking love Lancer. God, all the characters are just so great. So we continue our journey, and of course, we run into Lancer yet again. He warns us that something very dangerous is ahead, and and the camera pans over. It's a big, fucking, scary, terrible sea round, and he's just standing there with his little legs, looking all cute, and then a crown drops onto it, and it gets big, and it gets very leggy, and it turns into a K round. The game, you have to use a unique mechanic to win the fight. You have to bow at the K round, and it will bow back, and that will help knock the crown loose. And that comes back later on. Mm-hmm. Once the crown falls off, it turns back into a cute little sea round, and then it just rolls away. Lancer actually thanks us for saving them, and Susie decides to take all the credit for it. Ralsei gets on her case for not being a good hero, so she decides, well, fuck it then. I'm going to go join Lancer and be one of the bad guys. And that was, I meant to mention that Lancer announced when he first showed up that he was the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So Susie goes with Lancer, and honestly, Ralsei is surprisingly optimistic that she'll return to us eventually. He's very sweet, but boy, is he naive.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Yep, time to keep wandering through the forest. So farther into the forest, we find Lancer and Susie by a stump, saying that they're having a snack. They're taking a break from coming after us to have a snack, because all Susie ate that day was chalk, which is like that's a very like simple but powerful glimpse into her life. Mm-hmm. Because if you think of the implications of that, she only ate chalk that day. That means she didn't have breakfast. That means, like, was no one feeding her? Was there no food in the house? Mm-hmm. You know, it makes you really question that situation and kind of look a little more deeply into who Susie is. But apparently they've got a stump full of salsa there. So after some taunting, we just head on to more puzzles and fights. The next time that we run into Susie and Lancer, they are drafting blueprints for some scheme to defeat us. They also needed us to solve the puzzle that was there so that they could continue through the forest, which is really great. Mm-hmm. It's really funny. I really like the idea of the bad guys needing help from the good guys in order to continue with their plans.
Yeah, this whole time
they do that like 5 or 6 times throughout.
Basically, this whole time they keep being like, "Oh, we're working on the plan. We're gonna kick your ass so bad once we figure out our bad plan to kick your ass. Oh, you just wait. We're working on this awesome plan. Yeah, and they keep building it up and building it up, even though like they're clearly like they're literally children, just like we are, right? They're not any better at this than anybody else. They're just really excited about kicking our ass, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little while later, we run into them yet again, where they've set up a bake sale booth because I guess it's not a Toby Fox game without a bake sale. A weird bake sale. So I actually went and bought something from them, and then as soon as I did, they ran out from behind the booth and went and bought a donut from the stall next to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they couldn't afford food, so they like scammed us out of $40 and then bought a Hearts donut. So then the next time we run into Lancer, which is not too long after, and there's a lot that I'm not talking about in between with like fights and puzzles and things like that, and they're super cool. Like I would recommend checking the game out for those. But it's a lot of that. But we see Lancer from behind, and then he turns around and he's wearing a fake mustache and he claims not to be Lancer, but a sweet little boy. Which Ralse asks, like, what kind of little boy has a mustache? So Lancer says that he has an evil plan he needs help with to impress Susie. So because it's for friendship, of course we'll help. And so we are given the blueprints to create a machine to thrash your own ass. And it's fucking great.
Also, I gotta ring a little ding-a-ling bell here. You know, any like indie game, and by indie game I don't mean like big indie, I mean like indie, like maybe the RPG Maker or whatever, right? Coming out of those sort of scenes, coming out of like oh damn it, what's that one forum? I can't think of the name of the forum, but anyway, that a lot of these people come out of. Anyway.
Congregate?
No. But anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but whatever. So the point is, spot the reference here. Reference has been spotted. There's got to be one to Charles Broccoli Shut Up and Jam Guide and RPG. Because everything from this scene is going to reference Charles Broccoli Shut Up and Jam Guide and RPG, Chapter 1 of the Huge Broccoli Saga, at some point. So when you're creating the machine to thrash your own ass, as you pick its different attributes, it has stats. And the stats are elegant, lively, cute, hot, cool, and guns with an apostrophe S. Those of y'all who haven't played the game might not know this, but anytime you see someone spell guns that way, that's a reference to Charles Broccoli Shut Up and Jam Guide and RPG, which hilariously used that spelling exclusively anytime it used the word gun. The class of characters who fire guns is a guns braster. Which is a cute little play. Which is a cute little play on, you know, LR merger of Japanese, right? Anyway, anytime I say the word guns, I'm doing the apostrophe in my head. So couldn't let us get away with that. Important. It's important.
Yeah, it's important to note.
Obviously, I maximized guns because I love guns, real and conceptual.
I made mine look like a duck on like a tank, as I recall. Like, I don't actually like. I went through it real quick today because I was just trying to get through.
Yeah, I mean it's not very important.
I didn't end up getting...
It gave me 10 colored stars and told me to apply the stars however I wanted to. So I made sure that I put one star in everything. So I had a flamethrower on a wheel with tank treads.
Nice.
Because that made it even. Because things have to be even.
Yeah, see, I disagree. I think things don't have to be even. I think that your gun stat needs to be as high as possible. This is how I win.
Need all the gun apostrophe S. So once that's done, Susie comes to see what we created and thanks us for doing the hard part for them more or less. A little while later, we come across Lancer and Susie lying back on like loungers and taking a break from creating their machine, and they're being fanned by a couple of those spade monsters. I can't remember their names right now. But yeah, they're just chilling out. When we try to leave, Lancer actually warns us that the next screen is a forest maze. And indeed, when we head up, Lancer's there, and we follow him, or at least I followed him the whole time. I don't know about you.
Yeah, so what happens if you follow him?
If you follow him, you end up at a dead end, and then
he says, I'm so lost. I have no idea where I'm going. And then Ralsei will be like, oh, well, maybe we should go everywhere that he's not.
Yeah, okay. So so I just intuitively figured that out. So as soon as they said follow him, I was like, well, he's an idiot. So every time he went left, I went right. Every time he went right, I went left. But I guess if you don't do that right, they just tell you to do it, and then you do it, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I just didn't have to figure out the puzzle, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too
funny.
much of a yeah. It's because it is a puzzle, but like it's obviously like you fuck it up pretty easily, and then the game's just like, let's just tell you what to do. The other thing. Yeah.
I actually think you missed something that is probably important for the thing you're going to say next, Eli. When they're all hanging out on their lawn chairs, you say, Ralsei, I think, says, shouldn't you be making the machine to kick our ass? And they're like, we'll just do it super last minute.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, that will come up very shortly. Before we get out of the maze entirely, we run into Susie again, but she has no idea where Lancer is. And she actually seems to get worried about how like he must be lost and confused. Ralsei is like, oh, so you do actually care about him, and Susie just kind of brushes it off. But once we get out of the maze, Susie and Lancer have the machine that we created to thrash our own ass, and it's very poorly constructed. Yes. It just, no matter what parts you chose, it just looks like a
mine, since it had tank treads. I won't go over the other parts of it, but I think the tank treads are worth mentioning. I'd love to hear if y'all have any interesting parts as well. The tank treads, for some reason, have the word tuna written on them.
It's so good.
The rest of it looks stupid too, but like tuna, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, that's so fucking random. I love it. Like, I guess they used some sort of tuna can or something.
Yeah. Like, maybe they were gonna write something else, right? Like, they were gonna maybe they tried to think of a cool name for a tank, and just all they thought of was tuna, right? Or maybe it's an acronym, but we just don't know what it's an acronym for, and they didn't realize that it was tuna.
It'll forever be a mystery.
You can't spell Undertale or Deltarune without tuna.
Without tuna, that's true. Oh, shit. I think you just cracked the code.
I cracked it.
So, yeah, they just fucking blow it up. Like Susie and Lancer just blow up the machine, and they say it's because it sucks. And
with like, quote unquote realistic fire effects too.
Oh yeah,
so good.
It does
so
that.
Fucking funny.
It does that at the beginning when Lancer first shows up and he bashes into Ralsei. It's just like there's like a little explosion and Ralsei flies off the screen.
Yeah, realistic looking explosion effects are always funny when you're doing some kind of weird stylized, jokey, aesthetic sort of artwork of some sort. I believe they say they blew it up because like they wanted you to see something that you put work into blowing up to make you sad or something.
But it's like, but we didn't really care about this, so
right.
All right. So they challenge us to combat, and we make a wager that if our side wins, then Susie will rejoin us. Specifically, she'll rejoin the Lancer fan club in my case. I really love how we all chose different ones.
Oh, in y'all's game, did Lancer and Susie come up with their own bad guy's name? Oh wait, oh yeah, you missed the scene where they came up with nicknames for each other.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, so one of the scenes where you meet them, I mean, it's not that important, but they're bonding, which is really cool. They come up with nicknames for each other, and I didn't get Lancer's, but Susie's is Violent Axe Susie. But anyway, they named themselves the Dark Fuck Squad.
Yeah, mine was the Dark Fun Gang.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I figured, but
the
I thought
Dark Lancer fan club. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I had forgotten about that one. So during the fight, while we're conversing with everyone, we actually do find out that Lancer is starting to like us. And then we win, and Susie returns to our team, like, because she said she would, which honestly, I'm surprised she kept her word about that. But, you know, she has some integrity.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose in a fight, I mean, it makes sense to me. You know, someone with her mindset and worldview, it's like, if you have a contest and you get owned, you got to do the thing that they said to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lancer is actually, you know, he's bummed out he doesn't have his friend anymore, but he asks to join us, and so we accept him into our party. So we get our fanfare, and Lancer joins the party, except Susie interrupts it and is like, no, we're not doing this again. It's a really long fanfare too. It's got to be like 10 seconds.
It's absolutely a parody of Dragon Quest, how every time someone joins your party, you do actually have to listen to the lengthy fanfare. And it's not a joke that you can skip out of, and it's hilarious, and they have not stopped doing it in almost 40 years. So yeah, there's definitely a play on that, although it's even longer than the one in Dragon Quest, like twice as long.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So, continuing through the forest, we come across what Lancer calls a candy tree. And so he works with Susie by morphing into stool form, which means he just puts his hands on the ground and, like, holds his back up so she can climb onto him. So she gets up to grab the candy. She's about to eat it, but Lancer says, you know, let me know what it tastes like, because I've never gotten to have one. And Susie feels bad about it, but even though she was really hungry because she didn't have anything to eat that day except chalk and some salsa, and maybe half a donut, she gives the candy to Lancer, because she, you know, he's never gotten to have one, and she wants to be nice, but doesn't want people to see that she's nice. So yeah, Lancer and Susie seem to be pretty tight at this point. However, the farther we go, the more like Lancer starts getting nervous. And he warns us that his dad is guarding the fountain that's part of the prophecy, the one that we need to seal up. That's where we're headed. And Lancer gets really distraught and just ends up running from us. Susie chases after him, Ralsei chases after her, and Chris is left to fend for themselves. So we go through a sequence where we run after them, and we're getting bullet held out in the world. And then there's a gate where we get stopped by some monsters, and they take us and toss us into prison. So we've been trapped there. Alone with Ralsei. Yeah. So this is where I stopped taking notes, and I apologize for that. I'm.
I mean, I just played this, as you remember. Remember, this is where it was.
Yes.
It's like 10 o'clock, so I think I can stumble through it pretty well from here.
Also, you want to know a fun little fact? Earlier, I said I had a gazillion screenshots, right? Turns out, almost all of my screenshots, we're starting at this point. Turns out that the final dungeon of the game and the epilogue was like 100 of my 150. No, probably more than that. Just weirdly. Almost everything we just talked about, very few screenshots. And then as soon as it hits the dungeon, I have like 50 screenshots. So I can also help fill in.
Okay, great.
So we are in the dungeon, and Ralsei's like, well, try and find a way out. And so we can look around, and like you can talk to the, or investigate is the word. Investigate the chain on the wall, and you can equip it, and it's a good piece of armor. So like you equip it right away, and then there's moss on the floor, and you go over and you eat it. You go over and talk to Ralsei, and he's like, oh, okay. You're like, you got green moss all over your mouth, and now you're wearing the chains. You look like you're a prisoner for sure, or whatever. And as you're talking, Susie is in the cell next door, and she's like, "Hey guys, shut up!" And we're like, "Oh, Susie, you're alive," or whatever. She's like, "Yeah, I got out of my cell." It's like, "How'd you do that?" Well, I convinced the guard to come in and hang out in this trash can. And so the camera pans over, and she shoved him into a trash can, and so she has the ability to get out, but she's stopped by a puzzle. As you remember, 2 times now in the game, she's gotten to a puzzle, and she's just like, I can't do it. And so she's like, well, Chris, tell me what to do so I can get past the puzzle. And so you do, and this is canonically the first time she listens to Chris in the whole game. And
it's a big moment of growth for her. Although she does it coyly in her way, she does say, she's like, I don't need your help, but like, if you wanted to yell loudly the solution to the puzzle, like, you could do that if you wanted to do that.
Yeah. And so you tell her how to do the puzzle, and she goes and does it, and then she's like, okay, I'm gonna go and find the key and get you guys out or something. And so she goes down, and then like the game UI is like, okay, Chris, like, what do you want to tell her to do? And as you do it, it's like, she's like, did Chris say something? I really can't hear him, so I'll just go and do whatever I want. And so you just watch her walk down the wrong way, and then she turns back around, and she's stumped by a puzzle. And so these puzzles are a really cute thing where there's a where it's there'll be like a password you figure out wherever it is, and it's made out of the suits of the card. And so all you can place are spades and diamonds, but you can flip all of the ones that you've already put in to the opposite one of the same color. And so to get the right ones, you have to like put in a spade and then flip it to a club, so you can put in a diamond, so you can flip it back to have spade, heart, etc. And so this one, she gets up there, and it's just spade, diamond, spade, and she's like, oh, he's not here. Maybe I can figure it out. And it's literally, you don't have to press any buttons. You just type it in. It's great. So she gets through, and as she's like typing it in, she's hearing like, no, keep him in jail. They have to stay there. And she's like, what the fuck? And so like she solves the puzzle. The door opens, and there's Lancer, and he's telling the guards, keep Susie and Ralsei and Chris in jail forever, and don't ever let them get out. And she's like, yo, dog, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, you see, my dad is the actual bad guy, and you guys are the heroes. So for y'all to be the hero, you'll have to fight my dad, and y'all will kill each other. And I don't want that to happen. Yeah. So,
poor Lancer.
I gotta lock you in jail forever. Yeah. And Susie's like, okay, well then, I'm going to beat you up or something. And she like goes over towards him, and then she decides not to, and she has the growth, and she's like, well, I'm not gonna hurt you. She's like, well, then he's like, what are you gonna do with my dad? He's like, I don't know, we'll like talk to him, or whatever that pacifist bullshit that Chris and Ralsei are always on about. And he's like, I don't remember exactly how it resolves, but it's basically he decides to let Susie go, and he runs off.
The way it works is there's actually a battle scene where you're not in control of the game because you don't control Susie. The implication here, by the way, is there's a silly little framing narrative where Ralsei says that you being the player, Chris, should think really hard about what you think Susie's up to. Like trying to imagine what's going on with her, so that's why you're able to like see all of this, but you can't control her because you're not in control, right? So yeah, but it uses the battle UI, so she basically she hits him a bunch, and what does he do in response? I forget.
He eventually does the Toriel thing where her tears would part, and when it hit his face.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's how it works. Sorry. So you don't get to control what Susie does. You don't get to choose her actions. She always attacks, but you do get to control her little heart to dodge attacks. And for the first like 2 or 3 attacks, you can actually. The way I played it was the first 2 attacks or so I dodged. But after the third one, I was like, well, maybe the only way to resolve this battle without Blanchard dying is if I like die on purpose, you know? So then I got myself hit a couple times, but then after that point, like Sam said, if you literally go toward the bad guy, the hazardous projectiles, they move away from you, like parting the Red Sea. And which is cool because that shows that like he doesn't really want to hurt you. But I'm not hurting him either. Or actually I am. But anyway, so eventually
Susie realizes that she's not fighting, and that's when she gives up.
Almost. She does have one final attack, actually. He's down to only having like 1 hit point left of health, and she actually does attack, but then she misses. And then it's implied, of course, that she missed on purpose. And then that's when the battle ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, really and then she says, look, man, I don't want to kill you.
Yeah. And so Susie goes back to Chris and Ralsei and is like, hey, so sorry about before. Sorry, I was always trying to kill everybody. And I think maybe I'll be okay with listening to you from now on. And so then you get the fanfare again, and this time it's like Susie joined the party for real. So now you actually get to control Susie in battle, and it's great. So we now make our way out from the prison, and we ride the elevator up, and start making our way up through the castle proper. And along the way, we keep getting stopped by Rules Card. And he's like, oh, well, solve this puzzle. All the puzzles we've seen before are made by the other princes or kings or whatever that aren't in charge anymore. I'm now the person in charge of puzzles. And it's always like, move a box 1 square. And it's ridiculously bad.
He's somehow even worse at making puzzles than everyone else in this game.
Yes. And so the more you climb up, like you fight a couple of monsters like out in a boot, but when you go through like doors, you find like the soldiers like quarters and barracks and stuff, and it's all the people that you've saved the whole time. And they're like, oh hey, like cool, like thank you for not like murdering me or whatever, as you're climbing all the way up. And so you solve several Rules Card puzzles, and then the final one is a battle, and the battle is with a this is the battle with the souped up K round.
That's right. Yes. You guys see that?
Yeah.
And it's got and it's got like a different mechanic, right? It's got a different cute mechanic, but it's still really easy. So you kick its ass.
Yeah, you kick its ass real bad. And the best part about it is, so like all these little fights that you're in is you get, so the battle system has a Chrono Trigger reference where you can use your turn and up until this point Ralsei's turn to do like a special move, but now you can do that with Susie, and all of them have been hilarious so far. But this one, it's like Susie has an idea is like what the action is called, and Susie's idea is to throw Ralsei at the crown to try and knock it off its head, and it's great.
Yeah, it's
so
really neat.
When you get through, rules card is like, awesome, you did exactly what I wanted to do. I was just testing you to make sure that you were good and prepared to go on and do the next thing. Okay, bye. And he just disappears, and you're like, really? Like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And so you make your way on through, and you finally come to the throne room. I believe there's nothing else important between that and the throne room. I don't have any pictures of it.
There's a lot of really cute stuff, but nothing that matters. Most of the actual plot work here, I would say, is in the battles where Susie learns more and more about how to not fight. Like, for example, there's a hilarious scene where she learns how to flirt, and just various things like that. Really cute things where she's really out of her element, and you're sort of coaching her through it. But yeah, nothing important plot wise.
Yeah, so you get up to the top through the throne room, and you see a big shadowy guy, and Lancer's talking to him, and Lancer is like, "Oh, hey, Dad, good news. The heroes are going to not kill you. They're just going to come up, and y'all can talk and figure out something there." And he's like, "You fool! You've gone soft. You've let their compassion taint you, or whatever. You're like not my son anymore," type shit. And we show up, and Susie like threatens to axe him and everything, and Lancer runs away. And Lancer's dad is gross. His stomach
really
is a mouth.
gross. It doesn't look like his stomach is a mouth. It looks like it's a big old phallus, basically. Like his torso is a mouth, but out of the mouth is coming a giant lengthy tongue that has a spade on the end of it, and he can hold the whole thing like a whip, but it looks like it's his dick because of where it's coming out. So it looks like he's hitting you with this big wobbly dick while his tongue is hanging out. It's disgusting.
It's real gross.
He's pretty unambiguously just a bad, shitty guy.
Nobody likes him.
And so you have a little bit of like heroic back and forth. We're like, no, we promise to not hurt you or whatever. And he's like, well, you forget I'm the bad guy. And you get into a fight, and the fight is pretty hard. It's not impossible, but it's pretty hard.
Tough. It's got some weird mechanics, like one of the things he does is he grabs onto the box that you're doing
that's a fun
bullet
one.
Hell in.
That's the hardest one.
And he it's real hard. He drags it around, and you have to try not to hit the edges.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like his most of his special moves revolve around like the box moving more than things entering the box. Which is really cool. And
he's got a whole ton of them. They get progressively tougher. Like one of them is like the box moves around, and then later on it's like the box moves around, but also there's obstacles, like stuff like that. And
it did a really cool thing that Undertale did in the Toriel fight, and it got me in the Toriel fight, because in the Toriel fight it's supposed to trick you into killing her your first time through, but you do all of your actions that you possibly can do, all of your pacifist things, and then you just have to like guard for 10 turns to not guard
and heal.
Guard and heal, and like that's it. Or you could attack him probably and progress that way, but it's like you just have to last a certain amount of time. There's not like a trick into resolving the situation.
So this is one I will give this game a lot of credit for avoiding the number one thing that pisses me off about Undertale. Undertale, if you recall, the final boss, I don't mean the real final boss, I mean Asgore, you have to hit him. And then you have to attack him. And then after you attack him, the game's like, oh, you can't use talking, you can only use violence. And then after you finish attacking him, then you can pick to spare him, which just, in my opinion, I go back to that episode if you want to hear me rant about it. I think the game is lying and breaking its own promises to the player, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it cuts against its themes. But in this game, they don't do that. In this game, it's possible to kill him without hitting him. Period. Which is great, and it's what Undertale should have done. Really, really good. Big ups to Toby.
I tried it in Undertale. I wasted like an hour.
I started getting like outside of the game, like in the previous room. There's like some weird environmental interactions, and I was like, what if I click on these things in a certain order? Like, I was like getting as meta as possible, thinking like, what if this is the most esoteric puzzle in the whole fucking world, because it's supposed to be really hard to figure out how to do it without violence, right? And it turned out it's like, no, you don't. The game's just not being consistent. But in this game, you just defend a zillion times. And a lot of plot and dialogue happens while this is happening, for the record.
Oh yeah, and it's it's really interesting.
It's really good.
It seems to be stuff related to Deltarune, Electric Boogaloo, the whole thing. But we're not covering that.
There's a lot of lore in this game, but the lore is very vaguely explained, and I don't think it's wrong that like Eli skipped over most of it, for example. I think that's fine, because like I didn't really get a good handle on the lore this time in this game, and I don't think it's that important. If it ends up important, I'm sure they'll build on it in the next one.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a thing, like, because the opening of Undertale was the same way, like the little like slideshow to get you into the thing. It talked about like end of the game style lore, but you didn't care. You're just a boy that climbed a mountain and fell in a hole. And so we are covering the climbing the mountain and falling in the hole plot, and not the golden land of sunshine and all that jazz.
Yeah,
plot.
exactly.
But so we eventually do end the battle, and he's like, ugh, fighting like this is so exhausting. Like, I give up. Like, you're obviously, like, you're proving to yourself that you're a good hero. You're not going to attack me. It's whatever. I'm just so damn tired. And Ralsei is like, oh, no big deal. I got you. And he heals him, to which he then punishes us for it. And he whips the shit out of us. And so there's like a part where like Susie will stand up to try and defend us, and she'll get punished for it, but we'll like go in to block it, and then we get our ass kicked, and it's like we're all trying to help each other, and it's like no one's fighting back. We're just always trying to save each other, and we get punished to shit for it. And he's about to like annihilate us. He just has like thousands of spades, like all about to wipe us off the edge of the map, and then another spade flies in from off screen and hits him in the back, and it's Lancer. And Lancer's like, no, Dad, I'll stop you. And he's like, you and what army? And he's like, my army. And then all of the people that you saved throughout the whole game show up and like drag the Spade King away, and kicking and screaming. And they're like, yeah, we realize life sucks with an evil dictator. And so we're going to make Lancer King because he's cool and cute, and you fucking suck. And so they go and throw him into a circus clown cage. We don't see that right now, but that's what he does. No, he's not in the circus clown, the zoo cage. He's in they throw him in the prison down below. Yeah, he does. Yeah. We don't actually see what happens to him. He just goes off screen and is presumably thrown in jail. Yeah. Later in the epilogue, Lancer has a line where he's like, I made prisons illegal except for dads. That was
actually, since you said it, I'll bring it up. Let's see. Yeah, okay, actually you had it almost exactly. He says second, he makes two different laws. I forget what the first law is, but the second one, he goes, second, prison is now only for dads. Yeah. It's so good. So then we succeed, and we're like, okay, well, let's go and close up the dark fountain or whatever so we can get back home. And it gives you the option to turn around, because this game does something that's really cool where your choices don't matter, and you can never backtrack to the beginning of the game to take Papyrus on a date and start off a chain of events in which you discover the entire true pacifist ending. But you can, but because it knows you're going to try, it hides a lot of really cool things like that. Like almost every like optional chest in the game is one of those things where it's like the obvious path will be this way, but you know it's Undertale, so you're going to go and check somewhere else, and they're just like, yeah, there's not anything here, but here's a nice chest for you.
And this is one of those times where it's like big thing in front of you and you're like, well, I wonder what happens if I walk off the back of the screen. And if you walk off the back of the screen, you can talk to every single person you've met in the game so far. And like it's a goddamn Dragon Quest, and you can
little miniature victory lap, a couple of screens. It's really sweet, a lot of really cute stuff.
Yeah,
most cameos from Undertale characters, and yeah.
Well, no, not the Undertale characters part.
Not yet.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is a part with the monsters from the
we haven't gone. We haven't left yet.
My bad.
Yeah, and so we go back and talk to them. Most of them aren't important except for Lancer and Ralsei, and Lancer's basically only important because he says what happened to his dad. And so with Ralsei, you're like, hey, I'm a head out, and he's like, okay, cool. It's like, so your dad said it would be a really bad idea if we closed off this fountain. Is things going to be okay? And you're like, probably. And well, not his dad, but the king or whatever. And he's like, probably, but whatever. And you have a really sweet like parting thing. It's like, yeah, I had such good fun hanging out with you today, blah 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 blah. And then Ralsei takes his hat off, and he is also a little Toriel, little boy. And Ralsei, as you may know, is in a word jumble for
Anagram.
Azrael.
Anagram.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So, as we'll see in a second, I have a lot of questions, and I really want to play the rest of this game.
Shit, I didn't tell. Well, actually, wait, hold on. You didn't. None of us have said the important part that makes what you just said make sense to our listeners. Our brother from the beginning of the game, who went off to college, his name is Alcia.
We learned that in this final victory lap that's coming up. He's just your brother.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. You're totally right.
Yeah. So when we were playing it, we were like, oh, it's a reference to the Undertale character Azrael, just like Chris is a reference to Frisk, the Undertale character. They're just being cute. But now we get to the end and we're like, wait, no, this actually is somehow a sequel to Undertale, and I don't know how that
Fun fact, I
really want to play Deltarune too.
Fun fact, I actually forgot that Azrael was Tariel. And in this upcoming epilogue, when they mentioned Azrael, I was like, who was that again? So whoops.
Yeah. So we thank Ralsei, and we head out and we go through the thing, and Chris and Susie like come to in the unused classroom, as they call it, and there are board game pieces strung about everywhere, like playing cards and checker pieces and chess pieces. Interesting. And so they're like, oh, well, we better get back to class. And so they walk out, and it's like late at night. It's like 6:30 p.m. type thing. We're like, oh, I guess school is over. Well, bye. And so they go to leave, and your mom calls you. It was like, I was waiting for you forever. Like, where were you? And you're like, oh, I was hanging out with friends. She goes, oh, well, then I guess you're not in trouble. And it was really a sweet scene. So then it just lets you.
I think there's a really critically important line here that is not optional. Before you part ways with Susie, first of all, we see she's really softened up. She kind of gives you a vague like, "Hey, thanks." You know, I don't think she literally says like we're friends now, but it's a really sweet scene, right? Showing that she has affection for you and feels a little different than she did earlier. But then, when we're standing in front of that the storage room, which is now locked, she looks at it and she goes, "Let's go back there tomorrow, okay?" Which is really neat, and I'm guessing is, you know, the hook for the future. It's kind of like how in Digimon the first season they were trapped in the digital world for the majority of the show, whereas in Digimon season 2 they go there after school. It's the same thing.
Yeah. That's really cool. First Digimon reference of the episode was not me.
I know.
So you also had one off mic right before we started. So
oh god, I did.
It's just a Digimon from Not Sam.
Between you and my girlfriend, it's just like you're coming at me from both sides.
That's true. And so you leave, and the game just lets you like explore the town like we're in fucking Lent by Cicero Orator, and it's very chill and relaxed, and you can just go around and you can check up on Undertale characters and realize that they are in fact Undertale characters, because like when this game came out like 2 Halloweens ago or whatever, it really did feel like, oh, okay, this is like an alternate universe Undertale. Like all these characters that we recognize, they're references, they aren't the same character, but like a lot of them are really heavily implying that it's not here in this epilogue, and makes things really interesting, because like as you're playing it, you're like, oh, this is like the spiritual successor to Undertale, no big deal, things are cool. But now that like it is a sequel, like there's a lot of questions there, like which ending is this a sequel to, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So you eventually so the only two scenes that I think are kind of important are you can go by your dad's flower shop where he lives, because he does not live with you, and he can give you flowers that you can go and bring to your mom, and you bring those flowers to your mom and she throws them away and talks to you about your brother Azrael. I mean, a lot of characters at this point have talked to you about your brother Azrael, and so it like builds this idea that like Azrael has gone off to college and will be back eventually, and a lot of people can't wait for him to be back. And so you talk to your mom when you get back to the house. She talks about Azrael going off to college, and you go to bed. And it's like, hey, this will be the end of the thing if you go to bed. And you're like, absolutely, you go to it. So then,
before we get to the ending, because the ending is a very dramatic ending, as we'll see in a second, I want to comment on a couple of little plot lines that I think are important here. They're not really mem-moms, and I don't know. I think it makes more sense to talk about them now instead of in a second. And I know we're running late on time, so I'll make it quick. But yeah, basically, here's what I think is important. At the beginning of the game, very, very subtly and loosely throws out a bunch of really interesting plot threads about your main character that are completely dropped once we get to the other world, Isekai style, right? But then they all come back here. But most of it's optional, which is really interesting. Luckily, I always talk to every single NPC when it comes to these kind of things, right? So this whole scene is really beautiful. So the first thing is, it's heavily implied that, I don't know, that you're a sad child and that maybe you're a little bit of an outcast or something. Like Eli said right at the beginning of the game, your brother had, and the way that they subtly give you all this, they subtly drip feed you all this info is really, really smart. But anyway, your brother's side of the room is like bright and golden and lively, and he's clearly so beloved and successful, whereas your side of the room looks like shitty, basically. And then when you look at yourself in the mirror at the beginning of the game, if you recall, that's an important thing in Undertale, right? Instead of saying it's you, or despite everything it's you, or whatever, it says it's just you, which I think implies that you think you don't like yourself very much, right? And then when you first arrive in the classroom, everyone like looks at you and is like quiet, and then the teacher is like, oh, I didn't think you'd be coming to class today. So there's this heavy implication that like something tragic has happened, and maybe you haven't been coming to school. Maybe you've been depressed. Maybe you got sick. Maybe someone died. No one really knows. And it's really, really cool how they kind of imply that. So again, 2 things, some kind of tragedy, and 2, this sort of like self-loathing. And then when you come back, there's a lot of really cool plot threads that are established here. Like one involving the deer girl. I won't go into it, even though it's a really sweet, lengthy scene. It doesn't really...
it's so sweet.
It doesn't seem like it factors into the plot, aside from just being really sweet, so I won't talk about it, unfortunately.
At least not the current plot.
Yes, it might come back later, yeah. Chapter. I will say, as far as things for the next chapter, there is an area you can go to. If you go all the way south, there's a forest, and in the forest there's a giant mysterious door, and it's got weird sound effects. So that's a thing that might be elaborated on next time. There's also a church, and there's a lot of stuff about how like you get all the stuff about this tragedy. You and your mom and your dad and your brother used to come to church every Sunday, and now the priest hasn't seen you in a while, right? Or y'all used to go to the diner, and there's just a lot of sweet, sad, kind of heart-wrenching talk about like things being the way they used to be. And then when you finally go to where your dad is, that's when you realize, or at some point you've realized, oh, my mom and dad aren't together anymore. And then you get to the flower shop and you have this long scene with your dad, and it's really, really sweet. And it's a really good, sensitive, sad scene where the dad's so happy that you've come to visit him. And yeah, he gives you these flowers. So yeah, your mom and dad are separated or divorced or something. I'm guessing it wouldn't have happened that recently, because otherwise he wouldn't like. Well, actually, no. Maybe he already had the flower shop and now he lives at the flower shops. Maybe it was somewhat recently, but I think something about the brother's tragic too. I don't think it's just your brother went to college and we miss him. There's some sort of something about him that people talk about him in the town, like in hushed tones. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, that the game really implies that you sort of hate yourself. Everyone in the town treats you really, really, really nicely, but not just the way that you are when you're nice. They treat you nicely the way you treat someone who you pity, right? Like that's how like everyone in the town talks to you. And also Sans is there. Sans Undertale, and it's not important to the plot at all, but it's really sweet. And I guess that's about it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Now we can go on.
Yeah. So you walk up to your bed, and it's like, "Hey, do you want to end the chapter?" And you hit yes, and then it plays the incredibly short credits. Like a song starts playing, like it's an anime like sing-along song like vocal track, and so I like settled in to get ready for it, and it's like 11 seconds long
because there's not a lot of credits.
Because it's like Toby did all of this, Timmy did all of this, this was my localization team for the Japanese version. The end.
Sweet song though.
Yeah, it's really good. And so it comes back up, and you see Chris in their bed at the like in the middle of the night. He's like tossing and turning, and then he like throws back the covers, and they walk to the middle and pull out their hand, shove it into their own chest, rip out their heart, throw it into a bird cage. Their eyes start glowing red. They get a big, sick serial killer smile, and they pull out a machete, and then it cuts to black and says "To be continued" in Deltarune 2. So,
yeah,
that happens.
Very concerning. So yeah, like I said, those plot threads that appeared at the beginning of the game and then were dropped, like it's like, I'm like, oh, this is like the real game probably, is whatever the fuck is going on with the real Undertale town and stuff, and not like the isekai story. What the heck, man? I am so looking forward to the next one. Holy moly.
Yeah, and I'm thoroughly excited for it. So let's listen to that vocal track and then talk about our memorable moments.
When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow, and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget it, I'm with you in the dark.
All right. Lightning round, Mim Moms. This is our first 2-hour episode in a very long time.
Yeah, holy cow.
Let's try and get through it. Maddy, pick a couple of yours.
Okay, yeah, I've just got I'm just gonna do maybe one or two, and then it might have one or two more later. So when you talk with that that cat shopkeeper, his name is Sean, and it's spelled, his name is Sham, which is really funny. But it's spelled S-E-A-M. So sometimes people named Sean are spelled Scene. So he goes, "My name's Sham," and then he says, "And this is my little shop," and it's spelled S-E-A-P. Which is really silly and really funny. Okay, one of y'all do one.
So in your bathroom, right off outside of your bedroom, and you start the game, in your medicine cabinet, you have a can of ICE's Cool Boys body spray, quote, spray for the boys, end quote, flamin' hot pizza flavor.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do one. Let's just go around in a circle.
Yeah.
So I love the nicknames that Lancer and Susie give to everyone, like calling. I don't know why they call Raul say Toothpaste Boy.
I could never
but it
figure
kills
out
me.
why he calls him Toothpaste Boy. I don't get it.
I thought Chris was Toothpaste Boy because he was blue.
Maybe
They're talking about Chris.
I thought there. My theory was he's calling Raul say Toothpaste Boy because his pointed hat looks sort of like the end of a toothpaste tube.
Like, kind of, yeah. I couldn't figure that either, but it is still very funny. Maybe he just thinks it's a good burn, even though it's not.
And at one point he says, well, if it isn't my sweet little peas who I love to see. he just gives them these bizarre nicknames, and it's really cute, honestly.
So good.
Yeah, I think they call one of them Egg Boy at one point. But yeah, it's very weird, and I love it.
What's another one of yours, man?
When during the scene where you fight both Lancer and Susie, the whole gimmick with that fight is that you're trying to use your talk skill on Lancer. Susie doesn't listen, but Lancer, it starts to work, right? So you use it once, twice, 3 times, trying to convince him. You can tell you're wearing him down, and you're fine. He's like this close to be convinced to not fight, and you strike the final blow of words, and Susie literally jumps in front of him and blocks the sound waves before they reach Lancer's ears, which is really so fucking funny. And actually, when that happens, you use flattery, and when you use flattery, they both have a line of dialogue. Susie says, "Flattery won't work on us," and Lancer goes, "Oh, it's working on me." But anyway, but then it's actually a cute little puzzle, because you have to remember that Ralsei's sing ability actually puts Susie to sleep. So you have to put Susie to sleep. That way you can strike the final blow of words on Lancer. Very cute.
So good. Another one of my favorites is when Lancer first shows up. He's like, "Oh, you're the heroes? Well, I'm going to kill you. So my dad is going to make me son of the month."
Yes, that's a good one.
I love him. I love him so much. I love when you get to the castle and you finally meet Rule's card, and he's very like, I'm the best at puzzles, blah 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 blah. He's really talking a big game, and then the puzzle is pushing a box, and like you just push it over one square, and it goes da 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 da, and he goes, "God damn it!"
Yeah,
and it
that's
just
funny.
fucking leaves. It's so good.
Here's one of mine. Also in that section, when you're sort of teaching Susie how to be nice and stuff, you tell Susie to use the skill flatter on the enemies, because we know that these enemies are weak to flattery, and or maybe it's compliment or something. And Susie's like, I don't know how to give a compliment. I don't know what they would like. And then Ralsei is like, just say something just imagine what you would want someone to say to you that would make you feel good. So she points at the enemy and says, "You are unbanned from Free Ham Sandwich Day."
Oh, those Susie lines are so good.
Yeah, that whole section is gold.
Yeah.
It's so good. Speaking of Susie being best girl, so when she's leaving the party, she's like telling you off or whatever, and Ralsei's like, "No, we have to be nice to everyone." And she's like, "No, like you fight people because they're your enemy." And Ralsei's like, "What about the chess pieces?" She's like, "They're enemies." Like, "What about this? What about that?" And goes, "What about that cake you ate?" And she goes, "Cakes are also my enemy."
That point where she says that they're enemies, therefore fighting, was when I typed into the chat, "Susie's right, actually." I won't elaborate on that because we're already at 2 hours, but anyway.
Do you have another one, Eli?
No, I'm just I just love the whole goddamn game, and I'm looking forward to more of it. I really hope more of it comes out this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're 2 for 2, and when we release this tomorrow, it'll be the next time.
I will do 2 things and then I'll be done. The first thing is that one of the optional scenes that I'll mention now is if you go to the hospital, you meet the girl who is a deer, and it turns out her dad's in the hospital, and the gameplay is really coy with whether he's really there with something serious or whether he's not. Like at one point she says that she'd been waiting for him to come home to beat this video game, and he says dramatically, "I don't think you should wait." But then he's like, "You should bring it here so I can play it with you." So the game really doesn't seem to let you know whether he's like, "Oh, this is a sad story. He has cancer or something," or whether it's like, "No, he'll be fine. He'll be out in 3 days."
He's kind of a joker too.
Yeah,
so,
but also we learned
he's got like a positive outlook.
But what we also learned through this scene and through a later scene, if we talk with Deer Girl, is that Deer Girl has a crush on Susie, which is really cute.
It's super cute.
Love it, love it, love it. And then the final thing is just, again, the scene with the dad just fucking killed me. I mean, again, y'all know my lore. Y'all know anything about divorce is gonna fuck me up. So when you're in the top of his room and it's just so shitty looking, but he does still. He plants flowers, and there's 7 flowers of different colors, which I know is an Undertale reference because I know there was stuff involving 7 colors. Maybe they were flowers at the end, right before you fight Asgore. I don't remember it, but that was a thing right before you fight Asgore.
It was the souls.
That's right.
The souls of all the humans that were killed before you.
Yeah.
And your soul is the red one.
Right. Whereas in this one, it's just really sweet. He just likes flowers, right? It's a weird little reconfiguration, Majora's Mask style of all the characters. But anyway, on the fridge. And again, the music that plays here is really, really just tugs at your heartstring. The epilogue of the game just dives really deep into like pure sentimentality, and I don't mean that in a negative way. The game does sentimentality really, really well. So the music's really sweet. The whole scene's really sweet. The dad's so happy to see you, but also there's a lot of sadness there. And then you open up the fridge, or you click on the fridge, and you can either look in the fridge or look at the photos. And there's a photo of your mom and dad on their wedding day, and she's holding a bouquet of 7 flowers. And that's just so fucking sad, man. That just, it hit me real hard. It's sad. Anyway.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. Also, finally, Sans does give you his cell phone to call him anytime if you befriend him. But if you call the number, it turns out it's a hotline for idiots, babies, and idiot babies. And you get to do a cute little phone call scene, and that's it.
Yeah, speaking of his dad, like right at the end of that scene, you get bespoke sprite animations of him picking you up in a big old bear hug.
Yes,
and
it's so cute.
So good. It's so good. It hurts.
It really does.
But then he has a really sad line where he says, "Oh, sorry, I don't remember if you like being hugged that way or not." Which, like, you probably do. The game is not implying that he did anything wrong there, but just like the idea that a divorced dad can kind of forget things about their child. It's really sad.
Yeah. So last couple to round it all out. When you come up out of the elevator from the prison, there's a sign on the wall that says, elevator to prison, formerly known as elevator to basement, which just happened to have a lot of cages.
Yeah, I skipped that one as one of mine. It's a really good one.
Yeah, and then another reference to a Game Jolt game is you get into the spades room. So like the clubs room, you hung out. There were people there. The diamonds room, the hearts room, there were people there. The spades room, there's just a bicycle strapped to a bed, but there's a hole in the ground, and you're like, you found 20 rupees in the hole. Too bad that's not a currency in this game, but it's a Space Funeral reference, and it made me really happy.
Oh, nice.
Because the very first chest in the game is you found 20 rupees. Awesome.
Wow. I'm surprised that I did not catch the Space Funeral reference. God damn.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite game.
It's a real good one. And so then the last one, it's a tie between two, so I'm going to say both of them. Neither of them are good enough to be the last one, but maybe together do it because they're both food related. So at the bake sale, when you go and you buy something from the Dark Fun Gang, they run off and then they come back to buy the jelly donut. And you go over, you're like, you said you were fundraising for your megalomaniacal plan or whatever. And he goes, all real plans allocate for delicious treats.
That's true. That's true. You gotta have a snack table.
And then when they're hanging out outside of the stump that had salsa in it, if you talk to the stump the first time, it's like, oh, there's a stump with a hole in it. Then you talk to them and you realize that they put salsa inside of it. And you look at it again and goes, it's a stump with some kind of dinner hole in it.
Yep. That really got me.
It's so good.
There's so many good lines.
Yeah, for every here's the thing. I had 150 screenshots. While Eli was giving the description of the game, I cut it down to like 110, and then I shared maybe 15 of them. But for every screenshot that I took, there's 3 more hilarious lines that made me laugh or smile or have an emotion that I didn't even take a screenshot of. Like, the game is even denser than Undertale, significantly, I would say. And it makes sense that it's taking our boys so long to make the next part of it.
It's only 4 hours long, and it's just one chapter.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what else he can do with this. One other thing I wanted to mention: there is a secret boss. I have not actually fought this boss, but I have seen people fight it, and it's hard.
Hell yeah, sounds like my shit.
It's meant to be kind of a Sans level challenge. So I would recommend maybe, in your spare time poking around the game, maybe taking a look. There are guides online how to get to that boss, but some of the fun might be just figuring out how to do it yourself. So,
funny story. I thought I was figuring out how to get to him because when you come across the first playing card puzzle, there's no explanation behind it. There's no anything, and it says the solution is the order of the rooms in the castle. So because you come to the diamonds first or whatever it is, and so it's like, but if you haven't been there, then you obviously can't solve this. I'm like, this is where it is. It's so you come back here at the end of the game, and this will be where the secret boss is. I am a math nerd and an idiot, and
did you just brute force it?
Okay, I'm like, so normally this would take way too long to do, but every time you solve the puzzle, you actually knock 2 off of it. So it's not that hard. It's only half as many of it. So I spent the 5 minutes to do it, and there's a chest behind it that gives you like a scarf for all or something.
I thought of brute forcing it, but didn't. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So no idea where it was. I thought I was finding it because I knew there was a secret boss. And I knew he was hella hard, and I was like, I'm not going to beat him here, but this is probably where it is, and it's not. So I have no idea where it is. It's like a sequence of events that you have to go through. It's not just like find a specific room or find a specific item. Right. You have to actually like do a bunch of different stuff. Nice. Yeah, that'll do it for the week. If you like what you hear, you should check us out on the web at www.rpgbook.club. And there you can vote on our next game. If you're watching this chronologically, we have a post up right now. Vote between Hexus Force and Brave Story New Traveler for the PSP. You've heard of neither of those games, so just flip a coin. It's fine. Excited to play either of those next. It also has a link to our Discord where we hang out with all of our friends, and our friends are all awesome. We didn't get any new people in the Discord this week, but the new person next week could be you, and we will drop your name right here as we always do. But for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman. I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddie Grace Webbin.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. he is.
You're back.
It was annoying because I was like, kept trying to say mine because you were leading me right into a good segue into mine. And right as I would say it, you were like, yeah, but that's it. I'm like, okay, yeah, but his dad. And you're like, oh, another one. I'm like, yeah, okay, but his dad.
Yeah, we just kept waiting for you to chime in and wrap us up.
We're like, and Sam. And Sam.